everybody. It's Friday, it's Friday, it's Friday. And we are live with Find My Past, and that is always exciting. So, welcome. Thank you for being with us. It is June 3rd, 2022. I can't believe it's June already. You guys, that's crazy. All right, it's Find My Past Friday, which we all know means new records and great conversation and a little recap of what's been going on in the genealogy world for you and for me and for everybody else. So, welcome. If this is the first time you have been with us, we are really happy to have you. If you have been with us regularly over the last couple of years, thank you so much for being a part of our community. Let us know where you're at, where you're from, who you are, what you're working on, what is new and exciting in your world. Um, and of course, it's Jubilee weekend. So I know there's a lot happening over in the UK. Not so much here in the US, I got to be honest. But it is always good to see you guys. And congratulations to the Queen for 70 years. I mean, no matter what your opinion of monarchs and all of that, I think 7 years on the throne is a pretty incredible thing, actually. So happy Jubilee to everybody. My name is Jen, and I am the research specialist at Find My Past. And I am one of the very few people who is not on holiday today because I work in the US. But we also have Niall with us today in the comments. Everybody say hello to Niall. He is in our Irish office, and so he is also working. I think he has Monday off, though, for bank holiday. Um, so that is always good to have a little bit of a long weekend. So I hope everybody's enjoying themselves and enjoying the long weekend, and of course enjoying free access to our newspaper collection. We'll talk about that in a minute. Of course, let's start with the weather. Some of you are already chiming in with this. Thank you very much. Today in Colorado is a beautiful, absolutely gorgeous day. Beautiful blue skies and sun, which I just love days like this. It's perfect. It's supposed to get up to about 77 degrees today here Fahrenheit, which is 25 Celsius. So it's just absolutely like my ideal day. I love this part of the year. Trees are green, the grass is good. On the other hand, my allergies are going crazy. So yeah, yay. I mean, the good and the bad, they come together. All right. So Anya's with us. It's Family History Friday, she says, in North Fife. Absolutely. Daphne's with us in Somerset. Linda Matthews here from Watford. Stephanie is in the Channel Islands. Karen's in London. Janet's in Wales. All of our usuals. It's so great. Stephanie says, nice to be able to watch live due to the Jubilee weekend. I must take that to mean that you usually work on Fridays. So, Stephanie, thank you for joining us. That's really great. Roz is in rainy Massachusetts. I'm sorry, it's rainy. Although, actually, I'm kind of not, actually. Rain is good. Rain is good. Um, and Niall makes me laugh every day. And he says the Irish office is equivalent to his kitchen table, which, yeah, I totally get that. All right. Jillian's Winnipeg. Karen has been taking advantage of our free newspapers. That's great. Thank you for the free access over the weekend. We're really excited about this. This is the first time we've made our newspapers free in this kind of way, and it's awesome to just see all of these stories being generated and all these people making these great discoveries. It's really, really awesome. Oh, Marion is isolating with COVID. Well, I'm glad we can keep you company, Marion. I hope you are feeling okay and those aren't too bad. Yeah, get better soon. Get better soon, Marion. Take some time to, sit on your laptop and do some research. I guess that's what I did when I got COVID. I did a lot of research that week. Let's see, who else? What else is going on? Janet says she's working on an article for a Family History Society journal about the four daughters of a Pythagoras query. Ooh, that sounds really interesting. Okay, so Janet, let us know which Family History Society that's going to go into so we can all read it. And she brings up a good point, actually. If if you have something to share, if you found a great story, Family History Societies are always looking for content. So write those articles, send those submissions in, get that stuff printed and shared across the world. It's so great. Delps is in Vancouver in Canada. And let's see, Jill's in Maidenhead. Karen, of course, is in London. Always good to see you, Karen. Yeah, all good. All right, so All sorts of stuff. Niall has already shared the link to our free newspaper content page. So thanks, Niall, for that. He's on top of it. He always is. That access is available until June 6th. So you still have 3 more days to take advantage of that. It is a fabulous resource, and I've said this before, and I will continue to say it. Ignore geopolitical orders in the newspaper collection. I have found so much material about American locations, Canadian ancestors, people from all across the British Empire, of course, are covered in those newspapers. They are just absolutely so essential. I've found stuff in the British newspaper collection that I can't find in American newspapers. Um, so because those papers aren't available online, or they're only on microfilm, or whatever the situation, I haven't been able to duplicate those stories in American newspapers yet. So having access to that British collection in Irish and Welsh and Scottish is really, really exciting. It's a great, great research opportunity for all of us. So make sure you take advantage of it. And Matthew just asked, when does it end? I'll just repeat that. It ends on June 6th. So please make sure you take advantage over the weekend. Really, really good time to do it. And just, it's a nice long weekend. Hopefully you don't have too many plans and you can sneak in some hours. And you know what? If you need to, get yourself at your computer at like 10 o'clock at night and research all the way through the night. Your house will be quiet no matter what you're doing, and you'll have dedicated time. So this is grab the snacks, grab the coffee or the tea, and get yourself settled in, because once you get into those papers, you'll get sucked in. As we all know, right? Newspaper research is fabulous. Okay, so yeah, see, Karen is exactly right. Right, and this crowd, no, group of people, they give you the stories to add to the facts, and that's absolutely true. So those newspapers are so important, and that collection just grows every week. It's just so good. Okay, so let's flash the question of the week up on the screen. Just to get everybody talking, the question of the week is, how many cemeteries do you visit in an average year? And I have really good reasons for asking this question, but I am curious. I actually was watching a documentary about British parish churches the other day, and I learned something. They mentioned that the original locations for all of the parish churches were put there so that the minister could walk to his flock wherever they were around him in a day, right? He could essentially visit his entire congregation in a day. And I had never really realized that. And I'm like, oh, that's why there's so many. Like, that makes total sense, right? So he could get to everybody in his community, within a reasonable time frame. And so that kind of made me think, like, I wonder how many cemeteries are within walking distance of each parish. Right? So if in theory you could walk from one parish to another in a day, then you at least have 2 cemeteries that you could visit, right? So that was part of my thinking behind that. So let us know. Question of the week: how many cemeteries do you typically visit in a year? And we'll talk about that as we get moving here. Let's first, though, start with our records this week. What have we released this week? And we have a whole slew of military records. I'm going to read this off a list, to be honest, because I couldn't memorize it. So bear with me here. We've got records from the British Royal Navy and Royal Marine Service, and pension records from 1704 to 1919. That is adding to that collection. So if you're looking for Royal Navy and Royal Marines, we have new service and pension records for you. We have recommendations for military honors and awards from the British Army. That covers 1935 to 1990. So it's a much more recent period of history, thinking about all those men who were in World War I and, of course, then World War II. They are going to be covered in this data set. So make sure that you're looking at that for those recent ancestors. That is a new data set. We have new records for the gallantry and long service medals and awards. So we have long service good conduct medals that we've added. We have service medals and awards from the India General Service, for the Army, and for the Navy. And those are relatively small sections. They only cover 1852 to 1853, just 1 year. But if you have someone in India during that time frame, during those conflicts, you'll want to make sure that you check those data sets to see if they are listed in those indexes. And then the one that actually is the most exciting to me, the one that I appreciated the most, is from South Africa, actually. It's the local armed forces nominal rolls from 1899 to 1902. Now, it sounds like a very short period of time, but that is during the Anglo South African War. That is the focus of this record set. So these rolls are individuals who um, pro- possibly were previously involved in the military or and had immigrated, or maybe they had already immigrated to South Africa, and they just leaned on the side of the British right against the Boers. And so they created these units, these local units, comprised of all local men, people who lived in South Africa, and for whatever reason, however they got there. These are not British military, armed forces who went from Britain to South Africa. They're people who are already there. And that is a crucial part of your ancestors' timeline, because if they're in one of these units, you can assume, you can imply that, in fact, they already lived in South Africa. So if you didn't know that, you didn't have that information already, this is a really good record set. It includes the typical information you would find in a military record, right? Names, ranks, their unit, and in many cases, the date of enrollment and discharge. But some of these records also include the next of kin and or the place of enlistment. So you'll get potentially another ancestor and potentially a location as to where they actually enlisted. This is an index only. We transcribed this from a record set at the National Archives, WO127. So if you want to look at the original images, you would have to go to TNA and do that research or have them called up. But the index itself is a great finding tool for actually understanding if your ancestors are in one of these units and how they might have been involved in that conflict. So take a look at these. These are really neat. And again, that's the South Africa Local Armed Forces nominal rolls, covering the Anglo South African War from 1899 to 1902. Really, really interesting material. And I really think, and I hope, and kind of fingers crossed, that we're going to start to see a lot more of these types of records coming on Find My Past, a lot more of kind of the British Empire, as it once was, right, over the course of a couple of centuries. And that's exciting because we can start to explore and see where our ancestors actually ended up and went to, and possibly even came back from, right? Because there's a lot of people who did that return migration back to the UK. So this is a really great development, I think, for my past as a records holder. Okay, so that's the record this week. So lots of military stuff. Share it to log. If you haven't read yet, or if you don't get our emails, make sure that you check out that blog post. They're very detailed, they're well written, they have links to everything. You want to take some time every Friday to read through that post and understand what the records are and what kind of stories you're going to uncover. So make sure that you're sharing and you're learning about the records that you're utilizing, not just looking at the index, but actually reading through the content and understanding and learning the records. Okay, good. How's everybody doing? Lots of comments on question of the week. That's great. Thank you. Oh, some good things. Okay. Yep. The blog post has been shared. Thank you, Niall. He was way on top of it way before I ever said that. Um, let's see. So, question of the week. There are a lot of responses to this. I'm loving it. I mean, I'm not unusual, right, compared to any of the other genealogists out in the world. We all love a good cemetery. I find them to be just places of history. I also find them to be quite enjoyable, relaxing, kind of park like settings. They're typically very peaceful. I really enjoy cemeteries. And admittedly, I haven't done that a lot, especially during COVID, right? I just kind of stayed at home like all the time, even though I didn't really have to, right? I just made that decision for us, and for us as a family. So I Okay, might be back. Let me know if I'm back. Ooh, this is good. This has never happened before. This is fun. Are we all frozen? I don't know. Let me know. Back. Great. Thank you, Karen. Sorry about that, everybody. I'm not exactly sure what that was. Screen just went black completely. So hopefully that doesn't happen again. Fantastic. Thank you all very much. Bit stuttery. I wonder if it I meant All right, I'll be checking on my internet signal after I'm done. Okay, so let's go back to the question of the week. A lot of you have been making a lot of comments. This is really great. Thank you very much for sharing your experiences and stories. Let's start with Andrew. He has usually half a dozen, often repeat visits, having found more clues. Absolutely. Um, a good thing to know that you absolutely have to go back, right? Crucial. A few years ago, I went to Nebraska on a road trip to look at one of my ancestors, and I stopped at the cemetery, and I'd never been there before. And I failed to realize that his father-in-law was supposedly buried in the same cemetery. Just did not even realize it. So last summer, I guess actually, I drove back out there. It was like an 8-hour drive, and went, "Yeah, I need to find the father-in-law too." Right? I should have known, but we all make mistakes. All right. So, Karen says, I went to the cemetery where I have ancestors, but that was years ago. I'd love to visit more. Maybe that's something I should do this weekend. Great idea. Yeah. I actually do this a lot. I will just stop at any random cemetery and actually, to my family's chagrin, sometimes even on like things, holidays, I'm like, "Ooh, pull in there," right? That looks interesting. So now all of us kind of have something that we are interested in, right? My husband usually looks for the oldest headstone he can find. My daughter kind of looks for the designs on the headstones, the animals and the plants and all that are engraved in the stone, um, the decorative pieces, and of course, I'm there to look at everything I can, right? So yeah, I would encourage you to just plop into any old cemetery that you scroll past um, and and just see what you see, right? You never know what you might learn. Andrew tells us that some old parishes were huge. I know a few over 10 miles across. That's massive. So that doesn't really jive with that documentary I was watching the other day, actually. So I'm going to have to pull that back up and rewatch and dig into it a little bit. All right, let's see. Jillian, I used to go around cemeteries when I lived in mid Wales, excuse me. Fascinating. James Watts, an inventor's son, is buried in one of the graveyards there. So that's cool. Little connection to someone a little bit famous. Kathleen was in Perth in Australia for the last 6 weeks and visited the Fremantle prison, which held 62 Fenians transported there. So that's an interesting story. Kept that a blog post or an article for Family History Society right there. I assume that the prison had their own cemetery. Is that typical? I think it's very typical in the United States. I'm assuming that's the case in the UK as well, and possibly in Australia. Jill, now, so this is a problem, I think, actually, for a lot of cemeteries. She's not been to as many as she wants because she's a wheelchair user. And I don't know about you guys, but my experience is a lot of, especially the older cemeteries out in the Western United States, they are definitely not wheelchair accessible. But she did go to Wooton in Oxfordshire a while ago, found some graves. Where I live now is a distance from it. So need to go on a holiday to go around the graveyards. Absolutely. How many of us have planned a holiday based on cemeteries? I know I definitely have. Gosh, there's so many of you. These are great. Um, Putnam County. So this is a good one from Sally. Putnam County Genealogy Society does a find a project. There are 100 cemeteries in the county, not counting the private ones. So they organize volunteer, efforts to go out and transcribe those cemeteries and capture them. Andrew gives a good piece of advice: picture of the sign, naming the church or cemetery, so you can make sense of the gravestones later. Absolutely. I also take pictures of the headstone, and I take a picture, like a landscape picture of where the headstone is in the cemetery, all the headstones that are near it. If there is no headstone, I take a picture of the blank piece of ground and the headstones on either side of that plot, so I can say no, there is no headstone for this person. Yeah, all sorts of good suggestions there. And make sure that you're documenting it as if you need to give directions to someone who has never been there before, right? That's what I'm always thinking when I'm in a cemetery, and how to prepare for that is, um, I need to take a photograph as if I'm making a map, really. Okay. Jane's been averaging 3 cemeteries a year. But today, oh my gosh, today discovered her great grandparents are buried just a few miles away. So we'll be, why are you even watching this, Jane? You should be in the car right now. I totally would be. I would have been like, oh, I'm sick. I can't do Friday's live today. I gotta go. And all of my colleagues would have seen right through it. Totally would have known. They're like, she found something. She's pretending. All right. Good, good, good. All right. Lots of still like really, really good comments here. Um, and a question from Lloyd about a bizarre military situation. I'm not going to put this on the screen. I am going to encourage people to read his comment though, and make suggestions and see if anybody can help out Lloyd. Please take a look at his comment in the thread. All right, let's move to the next thing I wanted to talk about, because it does relate to the question of the week. I want to actually go to why I'm asking that, right? There's lots of opportunity for us to explore cemeteries. And of course, summer is kind of the time when most of us do that, right? Or, depending on where you are in the world, it might be winter for folks down in Australia, New Zealand. But in your summertime, many of us plan trips around our research. And I'm getting ready to share slides. I'm sorry if I'm distracted. And it's important that we have the right tools in place to do that, right? Um, I think it's particularly important because, let's see, I'm just trying to share slides at the same time as I talk, and it's not really working out very well. Um, so, what I want to share with you is the I'm getting there. The Find My Past app. And the reason for that is because the app is obviously mobile opportunity for us to take our research wherever we go, right? The app is a platform for us to be able to explore our research in person, on our feet, no matter what. Oh, and Jane, first she says first thing tomorrow, I promise. Yeah, that's good, Jane. That's good. Yeah. Um, all right. So I'm still trying to get this to work here. And it is not really. So give me just a second here. Sorry for all the technical issues today, you guys. I am usually much more smooth than this. Okay. I'm gonna share this. And hopefully it will display correctly, because once it goes into this, I can't see it. So I'm going to ask Niall just to double check if you could Slack me if there's any issues, because with this showing, it's harder for me to manage the platform. Okay, so Find My app. You can download this app for free on Google Play or the Apple Store. And then once you log into your account, the same account that you use on your desktop, then everything actually just syncs, right? So your tree is there, it's waiting for you, your data is there, everything is good. And the app has been worked on progressively over the last several months. So some of the updates, some of you will probably have seen. But some of you, if you're new to the app, may not realize all of the tools that are available to you there. So I'm going to kind of quickly run through some of these. Yeah, okay. Sorry, just making sure that my slides are all right. So I'm going to quickly go through some of these tools. If you have used the Find My Past app, we would love to hear from you. If you are new to the app, we would love to hear from you. Your feedback is really, really important to us, and we want to make sure that the app works the way that you need it and want it to work. So please make sure that you are communicating with us as we work on the app and the development of the app. So a couple of features when you're looking at the app. Of course, when you're looking at your tree, it's very clear. It's very easy to see the tree itself, and you can see from these screenshots here um, that there's a lot of information. There's a lot of things you can do. You can obviously just view the tree itself. You can view into an individual person's profile. You can actually process hints through the app if you want to. And then, of course, you can just look at the family group, right? And all of this, of course, goes back to the desktop version that you're used to using on findmypast.co.uk or .com. It all syncs up. So as you're out there exploring cemeteries or enjoying research in a facility somewhere, um, you can absolutely take advantage of your research without taking your laptop if you don't want to. I find myself relying more and more on my tablet and my phone and not necessarily taking my laptop everywhere I go. And even though my laptop is relatively light, it's still a little bit cumbersome. So I find that the app has become a real go to tool for me. There's a couple of things here that I really want to kind of showcase. So first, of course, is you can upload images. It's really easy. Go into someone's profile, you click on the little plus button that's circled down there, and you add the media, right? You can add a photo. It will then do a number of things. So you can pick out individual people. So this is an image of my grandparents, actually for their wedding. And it will allow me to tag each of them, not just one person, but both of them. And then I can actually create that image as their profile image if I want to. Another quick, just this is just kind of showing you that process of, use this as my profile pic for my grandmother or not. I can add a location to that image, so it is all geocoded. I noticed in the comments someone said something about they like the idea of geocoding cemeteries. Well, the app will do that for you as well on your images, all your records, everything that you add into it. Um, Oops, there we go. And then, of course, you can provide a summary, right? This is their wedding photo. It is, I could add a description. I can type whatever I want to that box. I can have a location, a date, and then, of course, the individual people in the photo are identified and tagged. So I go to their account and profile on the tree, whether through the app or through the desktop. That photo is there, and it's right there and ready for me to go. Ready to go. Another look at this, of course. Um, is multiple group photos. Like, so if you have a bunch of people in a photo, it will do that for every person it can find and identify in the image. So make sure that you're taking advantage of some of this. The other thing that the app does, which some of us really enjoy, is colorization of photos, right? So you can colorize your photo and add it to the tree if you want to. And my challenge to you today, even if you can't get out of your house, would just be to grab whatever it is around you. So in this screenshot, I actually just took a piece of paper. It's a letter from Pierce County in the state of Washington to my grandfather. And just to showcase that the app is starting to learn how to pick up text. So it's actually trying to transcribe that document for me, which I find really exciting, right? Because now all of that metadata is going to be loaded into the file of that image, right? There's an opportunity for me to um, let the computer do some of that work in terms of transcription, and it's kind of the early phases of this and the early start of this, but it's exciting where this transcription type of tool is going right in the industry. I think there's a lot of potential and opportunity here. So my challenge to you today is to download the app and then just log into your tree and then just grab any old document, even if it's just like a post-it note to write on, and just play around with this a little bit. Just try a typed document first. That is usually better at this early stage, and just kind of move through the steps as you were adding this as an image or a photograph to your tree, and see how this functions, because it's pretty exciting stuff. Now, to take us into the cemetery discussion, this is why I wanted to talk about cemeteries today. The app will also pick up the text off of a headstone. So when you're standing in a cemetery and you're taking a picture of the headstone through the app, it will automatically transcribe what it's reading for you. So then it will say, here are the people we think this matches right from your tree. Are these is this right? And you can pick one out of that list on your tree and actually go, oh yeah, I want to attach this to May and James Sr., right? And Phyllis, because all of these people are listed on this particular headstone. So it's really, really cool because you're standing in a cemetery and your app is like basically doing all the thinking for you. So you can move quickly through a cemetery. And, especially for those of us who kind of stop in on a road trip or something else, we don't want to take too much time because the family's sitting in the car, or, we have some other destination we need to get to. The app is doing a lot of that work for you. It's also capturing things like the location and the metadata behind that image. So taking those pictures through the app and utilizing the app for cemetery research is actually a really, really exciting new kind of opportunity through the Find My Past app. And again, you have the options to kind of select that person, add the location, provide a summary if you want, but you can see on that third screenshot, there's a geo specific location, right? The Latin longitude, exactly where you were when you took that picture in that headstone. So with that, I would encourage you guys to see that the slides just didn't work the way I wanted to. Sorry about that. I would encourage you guys to use the app, right? Download it. Oh, and Daphne's saying she just did. Yay. Thanks, Daphne. That's great. Hopefully, you guys could see the slides. Yeah, there was a couple people in here saying I'm not sure, but it is really exciting, the development behind the app. Um, and Karen actually just commented, right? One of the challenges that people face in the UK is the inscriptions are barely readable, and that's really true. So we're working with the app to try and make it a little bit easier to pick out those characters. So even if it's just one or two, maybe it's a little bit more than you can interpret, you can read. Maybe you can adjust the lighting and image. All those things are things that we're kind of thinking about and trying to develop. So here's another really good thing to think about when you're using new tools like this. The app is great. And I have plenty of genealogy apps and I have lots of photo preservation apps. But I was testing a feature a couple of months ago for one of our developers. And he said, would you mind, taking out some images and some photographs of your ancestors and just, snapping a couple pictures and checking on this feature for me? And yeah, sure, of course. So I took out this picture. Okay, I've had this forever. It is a picture of my great grandfather when he was a little boy. It's actually just a sketch, actually. It's on like a cardstock. It's almost cardboard. It's very firm. Um, and it's got some handwriting on the back, like it's been identified a couple times. I know exactly who it is. Okay. So I used this as the example for the app. And I thought, well, I'm going to use this one. I might as well do his siblings because I have all of his siblings in this same format. Yay for photographs, right? I'm very lucky. I'm totally spoiled genealogist. I inherited a whole lot of stuff. So I had all these images. So I used all of these to test the app. And I thought, oh, yeah, okay, this is good. They're good profile pictures for all of my great uncles and aunts. And as I was doing this, it's just a casual exercise, right? I had kind of put all the pictures down on the table in front of me, and I realized something that I had never seen before. These pictures all go together. They've been cut apart. Can you see that? This shoulder matches up, and if you put, I think it's William that goes in that space. No, it's this one. They all match. It's all one big picture. So even if you have digitized some of your materials before and put them in some other storage unit or digital space, it's not a bad idea to go back through these. I have had these for so long, over a decade for sure, and I have never ever realized that they're all from the same big picture. And I kind of went, I can't believe I missed this, but at the same time I went, oh my gosh, thank goodness there was this new thing that I needed to test so that I could see this for the first time. It was really a startling moment. There's one more picture in the collection. I only have 4 that I pulled out for today's example. There's 5 total. And we don't know what the actual full picture looked like because they've clearly been cut out. Like you can see, maybe you can see on the edge of this one, the edge is really rough across the top. So it almost looks like it's been torn. There's something not up there, right, that we're missing now. But this at some point was probably like on the wall, right, of my great great grandparents' house. And I never would have realized this if I hadn't gotten them all out and put them down on a table and scanned them into the app. So I totally credit our app and our app developers for helping me make this genealogical discovery because I was like, whoa, where did it come from? No idea. Um, so it's worth your time. Even if you've done some of this kind of thing before, it's worth your time to put this stuff into your tree, to have it all in one place, and to absolutely see your images and your documentations again for the first time, right? We talk a lot about how you want to go back and look at your research that you've done before and make sure you reread your materials and take a second look at everything you've already learned and developed. And the same is true for when you're doing things like scanning and cemetery photos and out exploring the world of genealogy and the history that's all around us. You want to make sure that you're taking the time to do that kind of over and over and over again. So it's really cool. Right, it's really, really cool discovery, and I'm grateful to the Find My Past app team for for making that happen for me. So download the app, give it a shot. Let us know what you think about it. And again, if you have feedback, we're always happy to take that feedback and plug it. If you're excited about some of these features, we'd love to know that too. I personally think the headstone transcription thing as I'm walking through a cemetery is pretty incredible. So even if I don't have anybody in a cemetery that is related to me, I will often, like last time I was in a cemetery, actually, I pulled out the app and I just pointed it at a headstone that was kind of hard to read, and it helped me read it and transcribe it as I was just kind of strolling through the cemetery, through the grounds. Um, and that is a really cool feature, actually, that I have kind of this tool in my pocket to help me interpret this historical piece of information that's in front of me on this headstone. So I love it. Allison saying, "Wish I had known this before I went to the graveyard in Dartmouth." Maybe you'll just have to go back, Allison. Yeah, it's and things like apps are being developed all the time. So please make sure that you're paying attention and reading emails and seeing the communication that's coming out from any app developer that you work with, any of your favorite apps. Watch for that. There's a couple of questions in the chat about rights. Does the app have the same privacy settings as the online tree and rights uploaded? I will be really honest, I haven't looked at those terms and conditions for a while, so I don't want to give you the incorrect answer. Brian asked about ownership rights, and Daphne's asking about privacy settings as the online tree. I'm pretty sure they're the same as the online tree. I don't see why they wouldn't be, but don't quote me on that, you guys. Let's we'll read through the terms and conditions and maybe come back to you on the chat, or if someone can do that in process right now, that would be great. But I don't think they're any different than the online kind of Find My Past experience. um, that's unfortunately I don't have a good answer for you. I apologize for that, Daphne and Brian, but take a look in your terms and conditions and you should be able to find that, or in the app documentation. Okay, so what else do we want to talk about today? Okay, and I'm not sure if I've seen Andrew in the chat. He is here. Okay. And he has commented. Thank you, Andrew. Thanks for your help on Twitter regarding the question I had about baptism. So, actually, he asked a question about baptisms on Twitter, and he tagged me in it. And I wanted to bring it to this forum. I actually thought that the community was kind of a better place to do this. So, Andrew's question was this: I have a set of twin girls born in 1744, and both made it to adulthood, which, as he notes, is rare. They had a private baptism on the 12th of April and a full one 3 days later. Which would you use? So, Andrew and I didn't talk about this very much. We kind of just went back and forth, and I basically said, let's talk about this on Friday's Live. So that's the question. And actually, you know what? I should probably put it back on the screen so you guys can read it. But Here's my answer, Andrew. I would record both. I would use both. There is the option in the Find My Past tree to record both baptisms. Um, and if you have documentation on both of these baptisms, I would absolutely make sure to use both. I would probably use the full, as you've noted it, the full kind of public baptism as the primary. On the Find My Past tree, you can indicate which, do you want this to be their primary residence? Do you want this to be their primary, um, occupation? You can note that in the tree when you add the baptism information. So I would probably use the full one, the public one, as their primary baptism. But I would absolutely make sure that any documentation I had regarding both of those baptisms is included in the media in my tree, right? So that anybody looking at my tree 100 years from now would be able to say, hey, look it, there's a piece of paper that says they had a private baptism, and then there's a piece of paper that says um, they had a regular baptism. Um, and the fact that they're noted as twins, of course, is interesting, and that is a piece of documentation you would want to make sure that you cover as well. Because again, anybody looking at that tree in 100 years ago, this can't be right. There's two people born on the same day. Um, you want that evidence, that documentation that they are in fact twins. So that would be my answer. I don't know if there's any other information that you wanted to, or questions that you had on top of that, Andrew. But I think both. I think you document both. You put both in your tree, and you have evidence behind both of those events. Andrew, you're welcome to share the links in the chat if you would like. And let people chime in on this topic. I think this is a great question for the Find My Past forum as well, if you're a member there on that Facebook group. But take advantage of the community that you have in front of you right now and pose those questions out. I would record both. That would be my answer. Okay. So that was one thing I wanted to cover today. Now we've just got about 15 minutes left. And of course, we couldn't let Jubilee weekend go by. Of course we couldn't. So I want to share kind of one of those record sets that we published, way back when, um, and and deserves another look from all of us, right? Oh, before I do that, Susan wants to know what's the name of the app. It's just the Find My Past app, and the link to both the Google Store and the iOS Apple Store are in the chat, Susan. So if you want a direct link, just scroll up a little bit. You should find them there. Niall's been adding those for us as we go. So on Find My Past, we have this wonderful collection that actually tells us a little bit more about the story of kind of the royal household that we don't typically hear a whole lot about. And that is actually the collection of materials for their households, right? So it's actually called, where did I put it? Royal Household Staff, and this collection runs from 1526 to 1924. 1526 to 1924, 300 years of royal household staff. It is an absolutely incredible and massive collection. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I just picked a random sample. So this is Her Majesty Queen Alexandra's staff. This is from 1924. And these records are so neat, right? I love this stuff. So you've got Mistress of the Robes right at the top there, the Lady of the Bedchamber, woman of the bedchamber, etc. It gives you their names, obviously, right? It gives you their salaries, how much, 75 pound court to be the lady of the bedchamber in 1924. It offers insights like income tax and the net amount they were paid. So they actually got 59 pounds, right? The date they were paid, how they were paid. So her money went to Lloyd's Bank. These records are incredible. I've been playing around with these as we've been working on Jubilee material, right? Blog posts and all sorts of things. We have physicians, we have all the people who manage the stables. We have the coffee maids. We have all the people in the household, everybody in the household. And these are all fully indexed. So if you have someone who you think might have worked for a royal household, just go into this collection and do a quick search. Because I mean, you might find that they did indeed, they were a maid for 3 years. So they were a switchboard operator during, World War One and the interwar period. And then you think about the fact that this runs it over into 1924. 1920, so it covers the period of the 1921 census, right? So if you're looking at the 1921 census and you're going, oh, they had a kind of a cool job and they worked, for His Majesty at the time, you can go back into this royal collection then and actually learn a lot more about what they did and all of the details around that occupation and how long they did it, how much they got paid. I mean, I don't know that I don't know that I could tell you any of my ancestors' salary. I don't think that that's something I've ever discovered about one of my ancestors. So I just thought this is just a really neat set. So make sure that you look at these. If you're excited about Jubilee, if you just want to know more about ancestors who possibly worked in the royal households, um, you know, it, there's lots to discover here. I learned a couple weeks ago about I don't remember the official title now, the Royal Piper plays, at Queen's pleasure 3 times a week in the gardens for 15 minutes. And I just thought, how do you it's a whole different world, right? You can't even really capture that. But what a cool thing to find out about your ancestor, that they were the first royal piper for, whichever monarch was in charge. I think it was Victoria when that started. So it's just some cool stuff, right? Okay, so check out royal household staff. Again, 3 centuries worth of material, so it's pretty neat to dive into, even if you're just a history buff and you're just kind of curious about what the royal household looked like and how they function. It's kind of a fun way to do it. The other question I got asked this week was how to keep up with Find My Past as a company. We're pretty um, open on these platforms about who we work with and who everybody is, and we talk about, I'll talk about Niall or Ellie or Jesse, in first name. And somebody asked me recently, what's the way to keep with Find My Past as a company? And actually the best way to do that is on our LinkedIn page. We have a great Facebook platform and Twitter and Instagram. All of those are great, but they're designed for people who are interested in genealogy. And on LinkedIn, of course, we're looking at us as a company, right? So you can Find My Past on LinkedIn. We're pretty active there, actually, and we've got all sorts of stuff going. So we've got, information about our employees and some of our activities that we're doing, and talk about the culture of the company, all the different things that we do as an organization. We even on here have somewhere. Hang on, I was looking at it earlier today. We've got our 1921 socks. Check that out. That's cool, right? We just finished as a company. The National Walking Month is May, and so everybody got sent a little pedometer and socks. And I'm actually wearing my 1921 socks right now because I wanted to wear them for today. So it's just a cool way to kind of get to know us a little bit. Of course, the other advantage is that we're hiring, right? And so you may not feel like you're qualified to do a job, but man, what if your daughter just finished a code program? She's looking for a great entry into the world of engineering and design and app development. Find My Past might be a great place for her to work. So we would love to have you join us on LinkedIn and kind of watch as we build culture community, both from a genealogical perspective, but also from kind of that corporate perspective as well. So if you're interested in kind of the company culture, we absolutely would love for you to join us on LinkedIn. And then, of course, send out our openings to all your friends. Maybe you will find the next amazing developer that builds really cool stuff on the Find My Past website, right, for all of us to use. Um, so, yeah, so Niall, thanks for the socks in the chat. And Claire saying the socks look really cool. They are pretty cool, actually. I'll admit they're a little big for me. But we were all delighted. We didn't know socks were coming. It was a surprise. So that was kind of fun. All right, so let's go back and look at some of the comments. Of course, everything that I've talked about, Niall's been keeping up. Thank you, Niall. I'm putting links in the chat. So the link to our app is there. The link to the Royal Household staff is there. The blog for this week is there. Everything's all good and ready for you. John saying, my third great grandfather, Thomas Hutton, built the Irish state coach for Queen Victoria, and Queen Elizabeth now uses it to travel to Parliament. Well, that's pretty cool. That's a nice connection to the royal household, right? All right. I think I got everything I wanted to talk about, so that's good. Okay. What else are you guys saying? Oh, yeah, Niall even shared our latest jobs. We are pretty actively hiring. So, please spread the word. We'd love to have someone from our community recommend someone that turns out to be great. That would be really cool. Um, okay, let's see. Oh, Andrew, another comment from Andrew. Thank you. I'm related directly to Andrew Benbow, who was superintendent of the Royal Mews from 1913 to 1923. That's a cool one. I like that. It's always good to be able to put the records together, right? I love it when records overlap, like the Royal Household staff in the 1921 census. It's just putting those things like layer upon layer on my ancestor. It's the onion with my ancestor at the core, and I just think it's a lot of fun. Do, do, do. Bev says, I've been enjoying the free newspapers this week. I found information about the probate of my third time's great grandfather's will, who died intestate. I went to court, and his son, it went to court, not I, sorry. His son had appealed verbally, promised to inherit farmland, equipment, livestock, and had worked 12 years without pay, and the appeal was not successful. Oh my gosh, that poor guy. That is a little bit sad, but what a good story to uncover, Bev. Well done. Claire asked if all the jobs that we're hiring for are available only in the UK, and Anya answered, thank you, Anya. It has all the locations on the website. She's right. Most of them are in the UK. That is our focus. So yeah, most of those positions. I don't think there's any listed outside of the UK, although we definitely do hire from outside the UK. So it's worth taking a look. Okay. I think that covers it. There's a couple other questions from people in the chat if you guys want to hang out and discuss with each other. Brian's posted one about looking for publications from Kent right before that. Right before World War II, sorry. So lots of conversations today. Thank you very much, everybody. It's always really good to see that. And if your question doesn't get addressed here, either by myself or another member of the community, post it to the Find My Past forum as well. Don't forget about that resource. That group is really, really active, and they do a lot of collaboration. They really help each other a lot. So make sure that you're putting it in both places so that you get a good round selection of answers and a lot of opportunity for research. Okay, if you have other questions, some of you asking questions about our open positions, that's great to see. Everything's listed on the LinkedIn page and on the benefits page, and I think the careers page is what it's called on the Find My Past website itself. So you can always take a look there if you want additional information. I have to log off for the day, I won't answer many of those directly, but take a look at those pages. The careers page on Find My Past and the LinkedIn page should answer all those questions. And we'd love to see your recommendations. Daphne wants to know if you get a free subscription. You do. Which is a huge perk for me, but just one of the many. You also get socks on random occasions. Okay, so next week, I'm going to give you a little tease. The newspaper fun is not quite over. Free access ends on June 6th. Don't forget, you have 3 more days to explore those newspapers. But next week, Records release is going to be a little bit newspaper related as well. So that's exciting. And then next Friday, you will have Liam here with you to host Find My Past Fridays. I am actually taking the week off. We are going on a little bit of a road trip out to Oklahoma for a competition for my daughter. So I hope everybody has a wonderful week. Enjoy your weekend with all the access to the free newspapers. And thank you, as always, for joining us and being a part of our community. We will see you next week, and hope that you have a lovely one. Have a great day and enjoy the rest of the week.